This is Dudes Who Bet Sports.
What up, everybody? Welcome back to Dudes Who Bet Sports. Kind of a special show today. We've got Ryan on the show joining us with Papa Dude. Ryan, what's up, buddy?
I'm pumped for this show is all I can say. I got to meet Mike in person. I got to meet the Dudes Who Bet squad. And this is, I think, America's favorite subject when it comes to sports, right, guys? Football.
Yes. Yep.
So I'm honored to be on for it.
Yeah, good call on that. And today we are going to go the early NFL preview. Of course, Papa Dude and I will preview the NFL in full around August, middle of August, late August. But we thought we'll do a full kind of preview here today. This is kind of the last sports show before we get into kind of the horse racing portion of the show. Next week we'll talk about the Iowa Festival of Racing like we usually do. And then we'll kind of get into Saratoga and kind of those combined pick 5 tickets that Papa Dude and I like to do before football season rolls back. But we're going to go NFL. We're kind of just going to go division by division, kind of break this thing down. Papa Dude, before we get going, are you safe today? Were there any near misses today like we've heard about the last few days?
No, we were in Joplin today because it's towards the end of the session when they get to go to Joplin, and they just don't understand. You can't change lanes without looking. Yes, something. And it's funny when we get to Joplin, it's like they've totally forgot what a stoplight means. If they do it at a stoplight, they get intimidated when they get to Joplin. I mean, we've been through stoplights in smaller towns, but when they get over here, it's what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? So
nervous.
But no, we made it. Safe
nervous because of the extra traffic, I would say.
Extra traffic, yes. A few buildings more than what they're used to, yes.
Yep. Kind of like Ryan driving in Missouri. He's not used to this.
No.
LA, very small compared to where he's at right now. So.
No, I'm from LA, and it's funny driving with Aaron. He's like, we've got traffic, and I look at his speedometer, and it's he's going 85, and I'm like, this is your traffic, So I'm learning out here. I'm learning in Missouri. You guys are built different than us LA guys.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, we certainly are. More than one ways. All right, let's get to it. Let's get right to it, guys. Let's go to the NFL preview here. We're going to go win totals for all these teams. And then we'll kind of give our, as far as our top pick, to who's going to come out of the AFC, NFC, and then win the Super Bowl. We'll do that at the end. We're going to go division by division. We're going to start with the AFC East to kind of kick things off. Of course, last year the Bills were the winner of this division at 11-6. The Dolphins also went 11-6. The Jets were 7-10. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt 3 plays into the season, and that was kind of their season. And then the New England Patriots continue to struggle at 4-13. Let's go this year. Papa Dude, I'll kick it off with you here. The Bills, are they the team to beat once again in this division? I think that's the first question.
This is it's hard to tell. A lot of people think the window is over for them. It's closing. It's closing because they've had chances and they just can't seem to get there. And who's this idiot down here in the corner wanting to come in? Anyway, they can't just seem to, they can't seem to get it. I don't even know who this is. But anyway.
Some star on TV.
I know. And Ryan, you're kind of a bad influence here, I think.
Yep.
Him to come on.
Attracts a terrible crowd.
Right. I still think the Bills might be the best of the division. I kind of think this division might be weakening just a little bit as far as having a stellar team. Miami just can't seem to beat a really good team. Mm-hmm. And until they do, I'm not really into them. I think the Jets have a chance to improve some, especially if Rodgers has anything left. I don't know whether he does, but I look for New England to just be one of the worst teams in the league. Mm-hmm. I think that weakens that division because we're going to have a very weak team at the bottom.
Ryan, I know you were kind of a big fan of the Dolphins last year. I know you watched, I believe it was Hard Knocks they were last year, and you got to be a big fan of them. They got off to a really good start. Papa Dude kind of mentioned, it was a good season. They went 11-6 last year, but they couldn't really ever beat that big team. What are your kind of thoughts on the Dolphins, kind of year 3 for McDaniels there? What do you think they're going to be this year?
Well, first of all, anyone who watches Hard Knocks, they always get you, right? You wind up loving these people, and then it does get you, whether or not you believe in them or not. You're rooting for the team because what a fantastic show. What do I think of the Dolphins? I think it's one of these teams, like I can't tell you what year or when, but they're going to have a monster year. I think they just feel like that kind of a team. And, maybe this is their year or maybe not. But they just have this so far big flaw, which is like when everything's firing, they're unbeatable, but you can slow that game down and stop them. Tua, as soon as you can sort of make him have to throw super, out of his element, you know what I'm saying, right, Aaron? It's just so they're a team with this huge flaw, and I don't know that this is the kind of coach that's going to change his style, right? That's his style, that's his genius. So I worry about them. And when I look at this division, I think you guys nailed it. I think Buffalo is the team to beat this year again. But that said, guys, don't they just feel like a team that is maxed out so far, right? Like, I don't think there's this other gear they're getting to. Like, Dolphins, I wouldn't be shocked if they somehow raise their game, but I'm just not – I feel like we have seen the best of Buffalo. They had their shot, and now it's just coming – they're like a horse that maxed out and is begging for the wire at this point.
It does kind of feel like they are a team that it's almost like they're in the decline, even though they did win the division last year. They weren't quite as good as the year before. They had an opportunity at home to beat the Chiefs. They couldn't do it after losing on the road against the Chiefs. I think all that being said, I think you do kind of – I agree with Papa Dude, and I agree New England's not going to be good. They're not going to compete. But what about the Jets, Papa Dude? What if Aaron Rodgers does stay healthy? Let's say he stays healthy last year. You got to think he would be worth 3 wins, right? That would have flipped it to 10-7. So if he's worth 3 wins and they improve and maybe get 4, can they not win? I mean, to me, if you're going to look for an alternative to the Bills, right, I think it's the Jets.
Well, I think anytime you start analyzing over-unders and things like we're going to do, you got to look at the schedules.
Yeah.
What the schedules were that they drew. And this division, everybody will play the AFC South. Which is arguably a very weak division.
Yep.
It's not very good. You got Houston, and what else do you have? Not a lot. So every team in that division will play them, and then every team drew the NFC West, which is a little bit tougher. So, and then you got to look at the other 3 non-conference games that these teams play. And I think in Ryan's case, where he likes Miami, you look at the difference between who Buffalo plays in those other 3 games compared to Miami. Buffalo's got at Baltimore, and then Miami's got at Cleveland. That's probably a wash there. Those are both good teams. But Buffalo's got to play Kansas City, and Miami plays Vegas.
Yeah,
that's not a wash. There's an advantage there. But then you turn around, and this is kind of a wash as well. Buffalo's at Green Bay, or at Detroit, and Miami's at Green Bay. Now let's look at the Jets. They're at Pittsburgh. They have Denver, and they have Minnesota, because they got the easier schedule than those other 2 teams. Could they pick up 3 wins right there? I think they could. And that may turn them around. So I think the Jets are going to be one of those teams to watch, especially if Rodgers has anything left in the tank. And that's the big if. We don't know.
Yeah, Jets coming in on 9.5 for a total. And I think a lot of it has to do with they hope Rodgers is healthy. And I think a lot of it has to do with what you just said. That schedule does set up a lot better. If you want to argue Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, I mean, Pittsburgh's still a tough team. Sure, I'll take that. But the other ones you mentioned, the Broncos and the Vikings, instead of teams like Detroit and Kansas City, that is a massive chasm between those 2 teams, or those teams. And I think that's a big-time situation for where the Jets can make up some ground. So I'll read them off here now. The Buffalo Bills, of course, 10.5 for them. So 10.5 over under there for the Bills. The Jets sitting right there at 9.5 with the Dolphins, who are also at 9.5. And then look at this. Hard to believe, all the way down to the bottom. The Patriots, the lowest win total in the league, sitting there at 4.5. If I was going to take one in here, guys, I think I would take the Jets over 9.5 if I'm going to bet one over. Ryan, any interest in these at all? Anything spark your interest there that I just read off?
Honestly, I mean, you're reaching for me on any of these. I don't see it with any of these. If you had to, I like the Jets because they do have that X factor thing, right? Rodgers is a guy, I've seen him have seasons where it's like these teams are atrocious and he just somehow does great with them. And I feel like they built this team for him, and the kind of guy he is, you both would probably agree, just that alpha, hates to lose, wants to make a point. I do see him coming back with a vengeance on this. I would never count that guy out, but boy, I just don't know, guys. It's just that team collapsed so fast without him. And I know that's not his fault, but who's to say he comes back after this kind of injury, right? I mean, we just never know till we see it. So it's kind of thing I'd love to get a game under and then bet it, Aaron. But if you want to risk it, I totally appreciate it because you're getting a good enough deal to try, right?
I can understand what you just said. You'd love to maybe bet this 1 or 2 games into the season, and maybe you look at it and go, okay, he kind of looks somewhat like himself, because this is a tough injury to come back from, no doubt. By the way, Tyrod Taylor, the new backup quarterback for the Jets, another guy that gets hurt a lot. So we'll kind of see what happens if Rodgers gets hurt. If Taylor could stay healthy, they may be in big trouble once again. Papa Dude, before we go on to the next division, anything jump out at you there?
I'm going to take the Dolphins over 9.5. They
Okay.
won 11 last year. I don't think they're any weaker. I don't know how they did against New England. I didn't look it up, but I think that's 2 wins there. I like the Dolphins over 9.5. I'm a little bit afraid of the Bills at 10.5 to go over that. That one's kind of scary. And New England at 4.5. Yeah, stay away from that. So, and the Jets 9.5, they got to go up 3 to beat that. I'm not sure Rodgers is going to have that much left, but we'll see. We'll see.
We do have some breaking news. I've got to come in with it. Ryan, you're going to get a kick out of this. Ronnie James was selected by the Lakers with the 55th pick in the NBA draft just now. So Bronny James did get selected by the Lakers. Do you have any comment as a resident Laker fan there, Mr. Stillman?
No comment. No, I think, look, I'm from LA. All my friends are crazy Lakers fans, and I have heard for a year straight, whatever we do, don't draft Bronny. Please don't, But if you're looking for a silver lining, they didn't take him in the first round, and, it is just a mess out there. I wish the Lakers the best. It's clearly just gotten out of hand, right? Would you guys agree with me following the Lakers at all? It just seems to have gotten out of control.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's not good. All right. Let's go to AFC North now. I just had to break in with that. Just came across my phone. Bronny James to the Lakers. Big shock. All right. AFC North. Let's go to it now, guys. Last year, the Baltimore Ravens, of course, win the division. They won the regular season portion of the AFC, going 13-4. The Browns were 11-6, the Steelers 10-7, and the Bengals 9-8. All teams over 500 last year in this division. All right, Papa Dude, we'll start with you again. For the Ravens, 13-4. Feels like they missed an opportunity, no doubt. But you could say regular season they were the best team. Are they the team that's going to take this division again this year?
To me, this is the toughest division, and it always is. I do just shitty in this division. I miss these teams all the time. Pittsburgh is so hard to figure out. They just win games they shouldn't win year after year. What kind of a quarterback situation are you going to have there with Russell Williams and Justin Fields? What are you going to do there? How's that going to work? I don't know. But they just seem to win games year after year after year, and you figure they're not going to be very good, and they just keep doing it. Baltimore, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. They had a great opportunity last year, didn't cash in on it. They're another team, though. They're just really, really hard to beat. Cleveland had a great season. You got to think Watson might be better, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a fan at all. And Cincinnati had all kinds of injuries. I think maybe Cincinnati's that window may be closing a little bit as well there. So I think this is a very difficult division to pick. Looking at the conference schedules, I tell you, this division didn't get any easier. They drew the AFC West, which has the Chiefs. And then they have the NFC East, which has Dallas and Philly, and so that's a tough go as well. So this is going to be a very competitive division, just like always.
Ryan, I'll kick it to you because I know you are a supporter of the Ravens. You had to have been crushed last year. It did feel like it was set up where they had a big shot to win it. What are your kind of prospects of the Ravens going into this season?
So look, my team is Baltimore, and I think that was their shot, guys. I think they maxed out last year. They did everything right. They hired some great change. I just feel like if you were going to beat the Chiefs, that was the year to beat them. I think they got better, and even if they do well here, I can't see them beating Mahomes when he's going for a three-peat, So the way they get there, how do they get there? I think something has to happen to the Chiefs, like some catastrophic injury to Mahomes, some injuries over there. Travis Kelce's injured, right? Some certain things can happen and probably slow them down. That being said, they are the team to beat in this division still. I don't see them falling down. Cincinnati, I don't know what's up. They're an absolute mess. Would you guys kind of agree with me? We've got people begging out of contracts. Joe Burrow, who I love, just can't stay healthy, and he's an up and down guy. Sometimes it's like, I just don't have confidence with them all the time, right? And this situation in Pittsburgh is crazy to me. You have one of the all-time great coaches, in my opinion, over there, and he's done more with less. Yep. But I mean, Russell Wilson, I don't even, you know what I mean? This has gotten so bad. Like, I don't know what to expect out of him. Justin Fields seems like a kid who wants to win and just doesn't have the talent necessarily to do it. I think he'll be in a less toxic environment than Chicago. From every indicator we have, Chicago is not the most, win-centered team. And then you got Cleveland. You get to this point where it's like, I'm looking at Cleveland and I have nothing really bad to say, but I wouldn't necessarily know how they're going to do next to Baltimore. I feel like I don't know. I'm sorry for this whole thing, but it is, Papa Dude, you said it. This is a very hard thing to handicap. Yeah. It's just one of these things. Like, I won't be shocked if any of them turn out to be the top team somehow. What do you make of it, Aaron? What do you, when you see this? It is a S show, to put it nicely.
I really think it's a two-team race for the top between the Ravens and the Browns. And you're going to ask me, like, who do I trust? Well, it's the Ravens every time over the Browns. So I took the Ravens to win the division. I think the Steelers, that is going to be fascinating, is how I would describe what's going to happen with the Steelers. Guys, how is Russell Wilson the quarterback, right? Josh Fields may be the quarterback. And this Steelers team I would wait 5 weeks and see what happens. Because if they can get one of those two guys to play well at quarterback, they very well could make a run at it, because they've got all the other pieces, but it's such a huge question mark for them. So I can't back them in the preseason. Maybe we get some games going. The Bengals, kind of the same situation. I can't back them in the preseason. Maybe if you get 5 games into it and Burrow's healthy and they're kind of rolling, then you look at them. But for preseason bets, I think it's all about the Ravens right now. I do think they can repeat. We look at the over-unders. The Ravens are at 10.5 or 11 or 11.5, depending on the book you look at there. They're kind of all over the place.
One of them's got them at 8.5.
Yeah, and that can't be accurate. Oh, it's minus 400. So what book is that? DraftKings. That's really strange. Yeah. I would not do that one. But Ravens, the Bengals sitting there at 10.5. That would be extremely risky if you're asking me. You go down to the Browns at 8.5 and the Steelers at 8.5. One thing Ryan and I talked about, Papa Dudes, I'll kick it to you here. Steelers 8.5. Tomlin for the Steelers, he had a losing record ever, right?
No.
If he goes under that means he's going to have a losing record. So I would almost have to take the over on the Steelers, because I don't feel like this is the team that's finally going to break that streak. I think they're still decent. They're still as good as last year, right?
Do you kind of have a feeling that Fields is going to end up being the quarterback, I would think?
He fits. But before you go on, Ryan said it. You got Russell Wilson, total flake, right? But you got Josh Fields. And whether you love him or you hate him, the one thing everybody can say about him, he wants it bad. He's tough. He tries. That kind of fits what the Steelers are. Right. Yeah. So anyway.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. And how will the stability of that program, and they haven't been real good the last few years, but it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mm-hmm. And now he's going from the Bears, which was, he just they've been down so long. Now he's going to the stable program with Mike Tomlin in charge. Will that get him to play better than what he's played? Mm-hmm. He's got Najee Harris in the backfield, a great, great player. So it's very tempting to take the 8.5, but I'm all over the Browns at over 8.5. I think that's a little bit low, unless Watson pulls a Watson, and that's probably why it's 8.5, because they got Chubbs. They've improved their receivers. They're pretty good. Their defense is good. This is a good team. It is Cleveland, and they can go south in a hurry if something goes wrong. and that could be an issue. But I like them over 8.5.
They won 11 with Joe Flacco last year, so
Yes.
that kind of does show you that you just plug a quarterback in there and they can get the job done. All right, let's go to the AFC South now, guys. We got to kind of we're doing well, but we got to keep going here because we got 6 more divisions to go. A couple of them will be a little bit easier to talk about. All right, AFC South, the up and comer, like the team everybody loves, the Houston Texans, of course, because of C.J. Stroud. The Texans won the division last year, going 10-7 in Stroud's rookie season. Jaguars 9-8, Colts 9-8, and the Tennessee Titans came in at 6-11. Obviously, not a flashy division here. Papa Dude, we will kick it off with you like we have been. CJ Stroud, year 2, will there be a sophomore slump or will he progress and kind of distance himself from the rest of these teams?
Well, we always talk about this. They snuck up on people last year. Now, can they handle the hype? Can they handle it? And the schedule is going to be tough. They got Baltimore. They are at Kansas City. They are at Dallas. They drew the NFC North, and they're at Green Bay. They drew the AFC East. They do have Buffalo, and they do have Miami. Both of them are at home. But those are tough games. And then you got to look at Jacksonville. Are they just one of these teams that can't get out of their own way? Are they better than what they finished last year? Because at times everybody thought this team was the one, and then they kind of fell apart down the stretch. So I do think it's Houston's division. I don't like Tennessee at all. I think they're going to fall to the bottom of the pack as well. And the Colts, they might sneak in there and do some damage before it's over if Anthony Richardson is as good as people think he is.
Well, just to kind of go to Ryan here and go towards what Vegas is looking at, Texans 9.5 for over/under, Colts 8.5, Jaguars 8.5, and then you go down. Have to go down a while to see the Titans at 6.5. But you look at the top 3 teams, Ryan. Vegas is telling you, yeah, we're not real sure what's going to happen here. You're not really a big follower or fan of any of these teams. I know that for sure, but I know you like C.J. Stroud and what he's been able to do. Kind of just your overall thoughts. Is it going to be the Texans, you think, or will somebody come up and get them this year?
Wow. Well, I think, and Aaron, you and I were talking about this. I think C.J. Stroud is the most exciting of the up-and-coming quarterbacks, at least for me. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how much I know you like him and respect him. And it's so funny, I almost kind of wish he was on a different team, right? I feel like put him on Baltimore, and I'm saying that as a Ravens guy, I would feel a lot better because I just see so much room for improvement. Yeah. All I can say is of every quarterback I saw last year that got to finish it out, and there were some really nice – we're going to talk about another one here in Green Bay's quarterback coming up, but – I'll say this, when I saw CJ in that last game, I was like, I saw something special. That's what I was left with. So I'm going with Houston here. I don't even blame anyone for taking a shot on it and just saying, hey, I think this guy can get it done, because to me, it came out of nowhere, but it was not a fluke. And I think this kid is a star. What do you think, Aaron? What are your thoughts on Houston?
Yep, I agree. I think he is a star. I think the Colts are the team. Papa Dude mentioned him. I think the Colts are the team that we don't know. If Richardson, if he can play a whole year, and what does that look like? I think that it's an unknown. I'm not going to sit here and say I think he's going to be really good, but I think we kind of know and understand. Houston's probably better than Jacksonville, and they're probably better than Tennessee unless something really changes and there is a sophomore slump from Stroud. But with Indianapolis, we just don't know. They may be able to jump up and get them. I think, again, two-horse division, so to speak, between the Texans and the Colts there. So, no, I'm taking the Texans as well. Let's go AFC West, because this should be pretty easy. Ryan shakes his head. He's not the biggest Chiefs fan. Neither is Papa Dude. Neither am I. But they won the division again last year, Papa Dude. They win 11-6. Raiders 8-9. Broncos 8-9. Chargers 5-12. Anybody give them a challenge in the division?
No.
Yeah.
No way.
Honestly, guys,
anybody gives them a challenge in the conference.
No.
As long as this guy is healthy. Forget it.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. Now, they're going to lose some games. You just scratch your head and say, what in the hell how could they lose that game?
Yeah.
But when the chips are down, if this guy, I mean, we're talking about Mahomes, is healthy, who's going to beat him? I don't see anybody in this conference that can beat him. And in this division, the interesting thing, and you know what I'm going to say in this division, is what will Harbaugh do with the Chargers?
Yep.
Was it all coaching, or are they overrated? And will Justin Herbert get back to Justin? What is the Harbaugh effect going to be in year one? Will he make that much difference? But I just don't see anybody in this division that can beat the Chiefs. And, you know, they get the AFC North, which is pretty difficult. But then they turn around and they get the NFC South.
Yeah.
Which is horrible.
Yep.
I think they played them last year. If I remember, I don't know. But anyway, they do have to go to San Francisco. And then they do have to go to Buffalo. And then they have Houston at home. Those are the three other games. For the first time in maybe history, they have to go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh comes to Kansas City every freaking year. I swear to God they do. And finally they have to go to Pittsburgh. But I just don't think anybody's going to beat them. They're going to get I don't see how they're going to lose a conference game. They should get 6 wins right there. I just don't see how they're going to lose any of them. So they're a great team. Let's face it.
Well, it is the NFL, and you do get upset somewhere.
You get some injuries too.
Well, I mean, they lost to Denver fully healthy last year, so it can happen. But
like I said, they're going to lose some game.
Guys, I really think boredom has sat in for the Chiefs. I think they're bored in the regular season, and they turn it on in the playoffs, and you see it's like, oh, well, they're still really good. Ryan, I mean, look, the Chiefs are almost 4-1 to win the AFC. I would bet that. The Chiefs are 6-1 right now to win the Super Bowl. I would bet that as well. I guess you're going to just echo what we're saying. They're going to be really tough to beat.
Yeah, I'd echo that. And I think 6-1's value. We're talking about the best player in maybe NFL history in Mahomes. I mean, it truly, he's kind of establishing himself, whether you like him or not, as just a genetic freak and an incredible quarterback. And basically he's got with New England's Belichick stepping down. I don't even know if it's arguable, but maybe you want to argue it. I don't know who's a better coach than who they have coaching. No. And the guy is likable. Yeah, Papa Dude, you're shaking your head. Yeah. I don't see anything going wrong. And I also, especially with them trying to make history doing a three-peat, I just don't see it. Something catastrophic has to happen to Mahomes or Kelsey, or I really think 6-1's quite good value for what you're getting. Because even if you're wrong, 6-1 on them, I think they should be even less, because I mean, last year they had everything go wrong and they still beat San Francisco, who basically bought a Super Bowl winning team and went into overtime and did almost everything right in that game, considering their quarterback is nowhere near the league of Mahomes. I mean, guys, honestly, who beats the Chiefs unless something happens? Seriously, to them. It's theirs to lose this year.
And you're looking at win totals here, 11.5 up there for the Chiefs. And then you look at the others in the division, the Chargers, as Papa Dude talked about, that's an 8.5 up there for the Chargers. So that is the respect for Harbaugh that Papa Dude was discussing, if I could talk. The Raiders are at 6.5 and the Broncos are at 5.5. That's Vegas telling you this should be a runaway for the Chiefs. Yep. I will end it with this on this division. I went over Broncos 5.5. I think that's insanely low.
I do too.
I don't think the Broncos are a very good team. I'm not going to sit here and say they are, but they lost Russell Wilson. Who cares? He's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league the last 2 years. Now, do the Broncos have a good quarterback in the roster? No, but they won 8 games with Russell Wilson last year. I think they can get to 6 with whoever ends up starting. So I think that's a play. I really do. And maybe it is a 6-11 football team.
But that's 5.5.
Yeah, that's going to cash. If they're 6-11, they got to 6 wins in week 12 of last year, and that's blowing games against the Raiders and the Washington Commanders before week 12 was even there. So
one more thing on the Chiefs that we didn't mention, their number 1 draft choice, Xavier Worthy from Texas. If this guy comes through, that was what the Chiefs were missing. A deep threat. This sumbitch can run. What is he, a 4.3?
Do you realize Xavier Worthy, who is unstoppable, and Hollywood Brown? Now, Hollywood Brown's been hurt, but if Hollywood Brown can kind of return to form, and then Xavier Worthy becomes who you and I think he's going to be, do you realize how much more dangerous this offense is going to be?
I know.
It will be back to when they had Tyreek. That's the kind of potential this offense has.
All they got to do is catch the ball, and they'll be better than what they had last year.
I don't know about you. I've watched Xavier Worthy for years. I've never seen him drop a ball ever.
No. The key will be he's very small.
He is.
But so was Tyreek Hill. So
I think they're going to be thin.
They're hard to hit. You know what? When they're that fast, they're hard to hit.
I swear to God, you guys, I feel like this is their best team yet.
That may be.
Wow.
I really, honestly, and truly believe if Mahomes stays healthy and Kelsey stays healthy, this will be their best team yet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because they learned last year, they learned how to win, not scoring 30 points a game last year.
And the other thing about the Chiefs that's so underrated is their defense.
Oh, totally.
Their defense is – everybody talks about Kelsey, Mahomes, and how dynamic they are. You look at the statistics, their defense is damn good.
Yeah. I mean, it won them the Super Bowl. And you want to get right down to it. It's won them a couple. Last year was a lot of defense, but the previous year was when they won the last time they won it. That defense stepped up huge in big time spots as well. So, all right, overarching for the AFC, I think we're all going to clean sweep it, but let's just make it official. I'm picking the Chiefs to win the AFC. Papa Dude?
No question about it. Easy.
And Ryan?
Chiefs.
Okay, all right. It's a clean sweep for this show. All right, let's go to the NFC where it's not so easy, I don't think. There are some up-and-comers, and there's some teams that really kind of established themselves last year. Let's go to this division first, the NFC East. It's going to be very interesting. Of course, last year, the Cowboys do win the division at 12-5 before more failures in the playoffs. The Eagles go 11-6, the Giants 6-11, and the Commanders 4-13. We'll start with Papa Dude. Is it as easy as Eagles-Cowboys here?
I think so. I just don't think the Giants have a quarterback that's good enough to challenge those top two. I feel sorry for Mike McCarthy. I really do. The guy just wins 12, 13 games every year. And they just can't win a playoff game, mainly because they got a flake for a quarterback. And so, in my opinion, I mean, he's got talent and everything. But you look, the Eagles, that's where you got to start, I think. Total collapse last year. I thought when they gave Jalen, and I'm the biggest Jalen Hurts fan there is, thought when they gave him that contract, that was a big mistake. I don't think he's as good as that contract says he is. He regressed a little bit, but they had a lot of injuries as well. But the main problem with Philly, their defense was pathetic. It was awful. And they were giving up huge amounts of points. They couldn't stop anybody. They've revamped it. They may have as many as 7 new starters on the defense. I don't know if they're any good, but they've hired a new coordinator. So that's going to be interesting. They also signed Barkley.
Yeah.
And that guy is a solid running back. I think that's a great addition, and they've got Devontae Parker. They signed him, wide receiver. I think this team is going to be better. I do. I'm picking them to win the division. I think Dallas will be right there, though.
Devontae Smith is what you meant to say.
Okay. Smith, right.
We know a Devontae Parker, too. That's why you said that. But, it's a slip up there for OU people. But, so I was going to read it off. Jalen Hurts, okay, whether you love him or you hate him, he's a solid quarterback. By now,
he is.
Saquon Barkley, if he stays healthy, he's a stud. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Harris Campbell, that's 3 really good wide receivers. Dallas Goedert, very good tight end. Their offense should be good. If the revamped defense plays up to snuff, this team is going to win the division. I have no doubt. I think this team – I think they had an off year, and I think they made a bunch of changes in the offseason. They're all going to be pretty good. I think they're going to be really, really tough. Ryan, any thoughts on this division?
I like what you guys said. I think the Eagles aren't done yet. I like that organization. They look like they want to revamp all the time and get better and go for a win, and I wouldn't be shocked. And as for the Cowboys, I am not saying they can't do it because they're talented, but it's getting to the point where you start feeling like, are you just going off of the history of the team, or where are you? Because what's in front of me, the evidence isn't making me think they've got it. I don't know how to explain it. Just some athletes don't have that killer instinct, or that I really feel they try every year, but it is hard to think they can raise up. Whereas when I look at Philadelphia, I actually think, they're going to come back with a vengeance and improve. I think Dallas might have maxed out and had a kind of year go their way a little more. I don't know. Is that fair to say in your guys' opinions?
I think so. I think you're right. I think you look at the Dallas team. I almost look at Dallas similar-ish to the Ravens, not quite as a dominant of a team, but look, all these years when you get up there and you get in the playoffs, you get shots and you continually miss. And then you get to 12-5 where you're one of the best teams in the NFC and you still can't get it done. Your window is not that big forever. It's going to shut on you, and then you're going to have to revamp, or you're going to drop, and I think it's inevitable for them. So I'm with you on that one. I'll read off the win totals here quickly. The Philadelphia Eagles are at 10.5 with the Dallas Cowboys that are 10.5. So both those teams kind of the co-favorites according to Vegas. You got to go all the way down to the 6.5s to find the Giants and the Commanders. I will speak for all three of us. It's tough to make a case for either one of those teams to really improve to where they can compete with the Eagles and obviously with the Cowboys. So as a over-under better, if I'm going to take somebody, for me, it's the Eagles over 10.5. It's a little scary, but I think they can do it. You guys, anything on the Eagles or Cowboys there?
Yeah, I would do this. I would think the Eagles. They won 11 last year. I would take them as the over. Rob likes the Commanders. He thinks they're definitely worth a bet at 6.5. Rob, I didn't study them very hard, just preparing for this. I think Jaden Daniels is an exciting addition. Yeah. The new coach, Dan Quinn, comes in with a lot of great credentials. And Cliff Kingsbury is the offensive coordinator. And I think he will coordinate an offense that's going to help Jaden Daniels. So maybe they might be a surprise, but I can't see it yet.
Yeah. New additions here. Jaden Daniels, like you said, I think that's a big key if he comes in and plays well, because they did add Austin Eckler as well.
Yep.
That's two big pieces. I think the defense is going to be a little bit better. I'm kind of with you here. Zach Ertz also on this team now. So I do believe they're going to be better. And as the same way I at least talk about Denver and going over 5.5. These totals are low, and you think there is going to be a little bit of an uptick. I think it's a shot with them. So 6.5 there for Rob. I don't think that's horrible. And look, this team, it hasn't been all that long. They were not awful, right? So maybe they can kind of climb out of the cellar, so to speak. All right, let's go into NFC North next, because Ryan is in love with one team, and I don't blame him. That's not a shot against Ryan. I think he's right on this one. But let's talk about it first. What happened last year? Detroit Lions, of course, it was so fun to watch a good Lions team. They go 12-5, and boy, were they close to making that Super Bowl. Another team that was close to beating the team that went to the Super Bowl in the NFC was the Green Bay Packers. They went 9-8 in the regular season. Not great, but they finished strong. Almost went to San Francisco and won. And then you got the Minnesota Vikings at 7-10. Now without Kirk Cousins, and the Chicago Bears, Ryan's wife's favorite team. They went 7-10 last year, and they've got Caleb Williams. So Ryan's got a lot to talk about. We're going to go with him first. Ryan is very high on Green Bay, and you got to touch on Chicago as well. The feel in Chicago there for Miranda. What's your thoughts on the NFC North, Ryan?
Well, let's start with Chicago and some fun stuff, guys, out there.
Chicago and fun. Here we go.
So my wife, one of her best friends, used to date James Harden. She's stunning. Another guy she dated, her longest term boyfriend, was a Chicago's Bear guy. So she knows all about the insides of this organization.
I'm sure.
And we asked her, how is it? And what she said was, it is a nightmare. So good luck over there. I don't care how talented this kid is. I don't want anything to do with Chicago. They've got to prove it to me right. The Mitchell Trubisky debacle, where they could have had Patrick Mahomes, or you guys, I mean, they make every mistake. I don't even like how they finished with Justin Fields. I think they basically gave him away for a cow. The guys, you couldn't use him as a backup quarterback. I hope I'm wrong, because this new kid, they talk about him either being like a Patrick Mahomes or a head case. I hope he is good. I want to see it as a football fan. But let's just put them down there and make that a prove it to me kind of thing. And I have nothing to say other than that. Minnesota is like a team I kind of just always root for because they can't seem to get it done, and I like it. I hope they can prove me wrong one day and just do it. But till then, let's get to the two teams that we're all here to see: Green Bay and Detroit. I have a feeling, guys, that was Detroit's chance. I don't know that I wouldn't have picked them to beat the Chiefs, but I think that was their year to go to the Super Bowl. And I think we saw them max out. I could be wrong. I will not be shocked that they do well. I won't even be shocked if they get there, but I wouldn't even pick them to beat the Chiefs now. I feel like, if they had a shot, that was their year, which leaves me with Green Bay. And I think this is a team on the rise. That blew me away, their performance in the playoffs last year when the way they went out. You could argue they almost could have won that game when the quarterback panicked maybe and made a bad throw. I love this team. I don't know when they're going to pop, but this gave me the confidence, and I want to hear if you guys agree that this is a team worth betting on, because one of these years they will just make you some money because they look like they are ready to just explode.
All right, Papa Dude, a lot to piggyback off there. Of course, we are close to Caleb Williams, so we got some thoughts on him, and plus we talked about the Packers a lot on our show all year, as well as the Lions. So what are your thoughts on this division?
Well, I remember when we talked about at the beginning of the season that Jordan Love didn't look like he was a player. I remember that very, very well, because in the sampling of games we had seen him, he was awful. And they didn't start off very good, but boy, did he improve. And he is a player. And I fully agree with Ryan. I mean, very impressed with him, and they're certainly a team to look at. Here's my take on the Lions. I like Dan Campbell. Renee's name, Dan Campbell. Dan, yeah. Mm-hmm. Dan Campbell is going to have to realize he's not coaching a shitty team anymore. He's coaching a good team.
Yeah.
You don't take the stupid-ass chances he took, or they would have been in the Super Bowl. That guy should have been roasted a lot more than he was, because, in my opinion, he cost his team a chance at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So
somebody in that organization is going to have to get a hold of him and say, hey, buddy, you're not coaching a shitty team like you did. You're coaching a good team that can win games the way you're supposed to. You don't have to take these chances, because his stubbornness cost them a chance at the Super Bowl. And I agree with Ryan. It could have been their only chance. I don't know. I think it all depends on how good do you think Goff is.
Yeah.
Is he still on the rise? Because you know what? This guy is he's a good player. He was great with the Rams for a year, and then he kind of petered out a little. So I think he's the key. It's definitely between the Lions and the Packers. I think Minnesota's going to drop without Cousins. Cousins is another one of those underrated guys. He's pretty good, I think. So I'm with you guys. I'm going to go ahead and stick with the Lions. Go ahead and win it, but I won't be shocked if Green Bay wins.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me, guys. I kind of feel like Green Bay may do it. Here's the deal, and people will argue this some with me, but if it comes down between it's one game, let's say, between the Lions and the Packers for the division, I just think the uniform will win the game. I think the Lions were able to win the division last year because they ran away with it. They got way ahead and they were the dominant team. But if it starts to even out, I think that uniform will win out. I always believe that in professional sports. So I think the Packers may win this division, guys. I really do. But look, I think these two teams, Detroit and Green Bay, are much better than I think Minnesota's going to fall. And I'm with you, Ryan. I'm not sure about Chicago, but I there you go. I'm with Jared. I'm kind of believing the Packers are going to do it this year. So win totals real quick before we go on. I had it queued up here. So the the Lions are at 10.5 and the Packers are at 9.5. Ryan, there's your Bears, 8.5. I shouldn't say yours. I should say Randa's Bears at 8.5. Boy, that seems like a lot to bet over 8.5 for the Bears. But it does show they've kind of got the hype. Like people think this team's gonna do something, and then you got Minnesota down there without Cousins at 6.5. So those are your totals there for that. All right, let's go to the worst division in football last year, and that was the NFC South. Tampa Bay wins the division at 9-8. The Saints were also 9-8. The Falcons 7-10. We talked about Kirk Cousins leaving Minnesota. He lands in Atlanta, but he also lands with a rookie quarterback, Michael Penix, in Atlanta and well. So that's going to be very interesting how they manage that. And then the worst team in football last year, the Panthers at 2-15. They rounded it out. All right, Papa Dude, Baker Mayfield. Are we going to get back-to-back division championships for Tampa?
Well, I certainly hope so. But when you win the division, you get a first place schedule, which includes at Detroit, the 49ers, and the Ravens.
Yep.
I don't like that. They snuck in there last year. Now, the players around Baker are good. You know, he's a first-class running back. Receivers are good. It's arguably the most skilled people offensively he's had around him. And I thought he was phenomenal last year. I mean, he played extremely well. And he's at home there. And so I think they'll be okay. The team that I fear the most for them is Atlanta, because they were 7-10. They were close last year. They weren't awful. They had no quarterback. And now they do. This guy's pretty good. So I like them to improve a little bit. And maybe make a run at it. I'm not real high on the Saints. I don't know how much Derek Carr's got left. You know, so I think about the Saints. They can beat Tampa. So I think this division is a crapshoot, other than Carolina, which I don't see them making much of a move. So I hope Tampa does it again, but I'm fearing Atlanta in this division.
Well, you and Vegas alike, because Vegas has Atlanta as the highest win total. They're at 9.5 right now, which is a little bit tough to bet, I would think, at 9.5. But that does kind of tell you that they think Atlanta is the team to beat with Cousins. You go down, it's the Buccaneers at 7.5. It's the Saints at 7.5. And then Carolina sits at 5.5. So, I mean, those three teams, Saints, Buccaneers, Falcons, they're within 2 games of each other, according to Vegas right now. Ryan, I'll let you comment on the Falcons. Big Kirk Cousins fan. I know you are. So what do you think? Kirk Cousins, does he get the Falcons over the top?
You know, I liked how that was going till they drafted the other quarterback.
I know.
I don't know what to make of this.
It fell apart a little bit, didn't it? It was weird.
Yeah, it was. It's like, I don't know what to make of it, right? This is either something is catastrophically going wrong behind the scenes, or they're just like, we need to figure it out and giving ourselves 2 shots here. And we really think the quarterback situation is the answer. To me, if this was the Kentucky Derby and you're looking at the entire NFL team rosters to go, this is the auxiliary gate. These are your rich strike teams. These are the guys drawing in. Build your own adventure story. Make a case. Maybe you'll be right. I don't want anything to do with any of these teams, guys. And honestly, I even feel for Bryce Young. He's either the worst ever or something bad, or you know, but my point being this, I feel like he even was given a bad hand last year and we don't know what he is. And them losing the first round ability to pick their quarterback this year, how much does that affect them mentally and just drag them down a hole as soon as Bryce starts losing again, possibly? I don't want any of this. And I wouldn't want to bet on it because I feel like you can quickly just feel really stupid. So save your money, double down somewhere else. That's my advice.
Papa Dude, Ryan fits in good with the show because we always talk about it's like, you know, there's a lot of options and I don't want to take a bunch of shitty teams and bet, right?
Yeah. Well, would you guys agree to sum it up, I guess, before?
I think so. What was Tampa? 7.5?
Yeah, Tampa at 7.5 is interesting. You said it, the schedule's tougher, but look, that's an 8-9 season and you cash.
I think I would bet that.
Yeah.
I do, because they've got arguably the best players. I think what Atlanta's thinking, this is what I'm thinking. They don't think Penix is ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't either. They don't think he's ready. So let's get a veteran guy in here that can win and bring him along slowly. Just because you draft a guy as a rookie, and that doesn't mean he can play the first year. You don't see these guys very often become superstars their first year, unless they're on a really good team, which Atlanta is not. So I think they may be thinking, hey, we got Kirk Cousins. Let's get him in here. Let's move this kid along slowly. I think I think it's a smart move. I do. So I agree. The only one I would bet would be the Bucs at 7.5.
Yeah, I agree with that. It seems like that's a little bit low, but I mean, I do kind of get why they're down there.
I do too.
That tough division, and they were not a great team last year.
No.
They fell into the right situation. Yeah. One more thing on Atlanta. I think you're right. Like, it was smart, but I think you got to deal with egos, right? And these players aren't robots, and it definitely hurt the old ego there of your brand new quarterback, Kirk Cousins. So we'll see how he handles it. He's a pretty good guy, so maybe
Cousins said it's not going to bother him.
I don't know. He was pretty pissed off at the draft.
Yeah, he'll be
Think
fine.
he's over it?
Yep.
Okay. All
He'll
right.
beat his ass out. He'll be fine.
There you go.
By the way,
Phoenix is not that good, I'm telling you.
I was just going to say, by the way, it's weird when these things happen because I never get from my side why they don't just say something to him ahead of time. It felt like what went wrong there is you could have gone to Kurt and said, look, we really believe in you, but what we're worried about is if you get injured one season and you get us to that spot, why don't we just have someone good? I'm not saying he might have bought it, but it's like, you guys know what I mean. There's ways to sell it. And I think
no, Ryan, this is not what, no. You go to him and go, look, you son of a bitch, we're paying you $30 million. Shut your damn mouth and be a quarterback. That's what you do.
Mike, and fair
If you get
enough.
your butt hurt, too bad.
Old school versus new school.
Give us your money back. Give us your
Old
money
school
back.
versus new school live on Dudes Who Bet Daily, right? Or
Yeah.
Dudes Who Bet
If you're-
Sports.
Okay, Kirk, if your butt hurt, just give us your money back.
Well, in that case, I would say you're right. Okay, well, give me my money back. I'm fine. Okay, you're right, Mike. I didn't think that, but respect. And by the way, Mike is the coach on the show, so I would have to understand it more.
I think Kirk Cousins will be just fine.
I would say it was a shock. He's over
Yeah.
it. When the season starts, it'll kind of go away unless he struggles and they're asking for the other guy, and then that's when the shit will hit the fan.
What? How much did he get?
I really have
I'm
no
guessing
idea.
$30 million. Is that about right? Probably.
Yeah, it was. I'm sure it was a huge.
How can you be upset when you get $30 million?
Well,
Come on. I'll sit the bench and I'll take water to all the guys for $30 million. I mean, I'll clean their uniforms. I'll wash their uniforms.
Well, and to your point, it says he's agreed to a 4-year, $180 million contract.
Okay. All right.
So Mike, as we've unpacked my idea here, I do see for $180 million. Okay.
Shut your damn mouth, Kirk.
I see it.
Or give us your money back.
I'd like to think I'm a lot smarter after learning from you here, Mike, than I was before. And yes, draft any quarterback you want. But now
All right.
let's get to the exciting division, right, Aaron? Because I think this is what we've been waiting for.
There you go. Yes, great transition there from an experienced veteran show writer. Let's go to the NFC West, Ryan, and let's talk about a great division. Like you said, of course, the NFC West champion was the San Francisco 49ers, who also went to the Super Bowl and took the Chiefs into overtime. They went 12-5 last year. The Rams went 10-7, also a playoff team who narrowly, or almost, I should say, beat the Detroit Lions in the playoffs. Seattle was 9-8 last year, and then the Arizona Cardinals, 4-13. Final division we're talking about. Papa Dude, any thoughts? You're going to have thoughts, obviously. What are your thoughts on this division?
Well, I think it's the Niners to lose. I mean, golly, they just got skilled people all over the place. They're well coached. The question is, can Purdy get them over the top? And what if they get there again and they don't get it done? Then what are they going to do? I mean, I think he's solid. I really do. I think we pick on him probably too much. He's surrounded by so many players. I didn't realize until the Niners got McCaffrey how good this guy is. Golly, he's good. Yeah. He is tough and he is fast. Man, he's a player. So I think it's theirs. I do like the Rams as well. I think they're equally well coached. I really like them. So I think it's a two-team division. You can't ever count out the Seahawks, but I just think they've gotten all they're going to get out of Geno Smith. So I rate them a little bit below. So I think I like the 49ers a lot.
All right, 49ers for you. All right, Ryan. I've got a lot to say about this division. So
all right.
But before I get to it, what are your thoughts?
I'll keep it brief because I want to hear what Aaron has to say about this because I know you have some hot takes. So San Francisco, when you talk about Christian McCaffrey, again, for the horse racing fans out there, I mean, in his position, he's secretariat. He might be the best we'll ever see at his job. He's fantastic. Any team with him automatically has a chance to do something special if he stays healthy. Would you guys agree? I mean, he's just as good as it gets. That being said, I really feel they did everything they could to get to the Super Bowl last year. And honestly, from my view, the team didn't cost themselves. A coin flip might have cost them that day. Patrick Mahomes might have cost them.
Yep.
So, like, I don't have a problem with what you're saying, Mike, if they're the team to beat, because they are. My problem with San Francisco is they don't stay healthy. And I don't like putting down money on a team where it's like they're either go all the way to the Super Bowl and can almost win it, or I feel like they're out of it super early in the season and can never get back on track. So I'm very much thinking that in this division, there is a chance that you can make some money, because I think they're the team to beat overall in this division. And at the same time, I just feel like I was so blown away with Los Angeles last year, guys. I think that coach is a genius. I think that was a team that had no right to win almost any games. And a lot of things kind of went against them. And suddenly they found themselves with less than ideal circumstances and made the most of it. And I think they're coming back this year with a vengeance, with a healthier team. And I'd sure love to see what happens when they meet the 49ers, because I just feel like we don't know what Los Angeles necessarily is. And I know what the 49ers are. And so it's between two for me. But Aaron, I want to hear everything you have to say, because I know you talked a ton about this.
Yeah, so I was on VSiN earlier today talking about the NFL as they kind of started their big NFL preview today over on Sharp Money. So it was very good to talk to those guys. And I predicted the Los Angeles Rams to win the Super Bowl at 30-1. I am a big proponent of the Rams here. I also picked them to make the playoffs. I picked them to go over 8.5 wins. I picked them to win the NFC outright. So I think this is going to be your NFC Super Bowl team, Los Angeles Rams. Look, Brian said a lot of it. They were 10-7 a year ago with less than ideal circumstances. They found some guys last year that really became big players. Puka Nacua, I think he is for real. If you couple him with Cooper Kupp, if Cooper Kupp can stay healthy, and you've got Nacua and Kupp with Stafford, they've got a very solid running back that they developed. They also drafted Blake Corum, who I think can help them. They should be very good offensively. And guys, I know Aaron Donald is gone from that defense, but that is a wicked defense. They really picked up some pieces. They're young. They played very well last year. I really like the Rams. I took the Rams here to win the division. And like I said, I took them over this 8.5 games. You said it with the Niners. Look, they're the team. They're the team you got to go beat. But the Rams finished 2 games behind them last year. And you can't tell me the Rams aren't going to be better this year if they stay healthy. So, and you're getting a much, much bigger price. Now, I did pick them 30-1 to win the Super Bowl. I also picked the Chiefs at 6-1 to win the Super Bowl. I'm much more confident in the Chiefs, but I think the Rams are very undervalued right now. I think they're going to be very good. And by the way, like I said, they almost defeated Detroit at Detroit. And if they did, who knows what would have happened, guys. So I really like this Rams team. All right, Papa Dude, thoughts on what I just broke down there? What do you think?
Well, I definitely would take them over 8.5. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's a definite. I don't know if they can beat the Niners, but definitely would take them over 8.5.
If you look at the over-unders, the Niners are 11.5. And then you got to scroll all the way down to the Rams at 8.5. So big time, leap between those two teams. And then you get the Cardinals at 7.5 and the Seahawks at 7.5. That's your over-unders. One more hot take before we get off of here. Arizona Cardinals over 7.5 for me. I really believe that Jonathan Gannon is a much, much better coach than Kingsbury. I know they went 4-13 last year. It was a disaster. Murray didn't play half the season. Even though they lost a lot of games without Murray, they were competitive, and it was surprising. And then they get Murray back. They finished the season 3-4. They were competitive in their losses for the most part. They have Marvin Harrison Jr. now in the draft. I think that was the best draft pick out there that wasn't a quarterback. I think they're going to be pretty good. I would be very disappointed if they don't get over that 7.5 mark this year.
Okay.
All right.
I don't that
You're like, yeah, I don't like that one, but
they're
okay.
the Cardinals. I
know.
There's so many issues there and always have been.
You're not wrong.
I can see that. I think they might be better than the Seahawks. And if you can beat them twice, it gets you up to 6 wins. You only have to get a couple more.
Mm-hmm.
If Murray's healthy, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big key with him. Can he stay healthy?
Well, that is the big key with him, and that has been a big-time problem. There's no doubt about it. Desmond Ridder, now the backup quarterback there in Arizona, obviously not great in his time in Atlanta, but he might be better than the backups they had last year, which isn't saying much. So All right, guys. We got to get off here. I'd love to stay and chat, but blinkers off, scheduled to get going here. I'd say about 8 minutes after the hour, we'll have blinkers off going for you guys. So we're going to get off here for now. Ryan, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Come on in anytime.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Aaron.
Yep.
Anytime.
Anytime, but for free. Final question, since this is the other part of blinkers off. So if he's still commenting, it means he's not ready to go. Has Kyler been a disappointment in the NFL? Of course. I don't think there's any doubt he's been a major disappointment.
Yeah. Anytime you're a number one draft choice.
Yeah.
And number one overall.
Here's the key. This is the season.
Yeah.
He had the worst coach in the history of football.
Well, right? No, it's between him and the guy at San Diego.
Okay, maybe the guy at San Diego. Yeah. He had one of the worst. Mm-hmm. The best quarterback that we've ever seen in our lifetime had a losing record at Texas Tech with this coach.
That's
talking about Patrick Mahomes. So if Kyler Murray has an awful season this year, he is a huge disappointment. But I'm willing to say, let's see what he can do. So we'll see what happens. All right.
I would like to see Kyler get traded.
Well,
interesting. You know what? I'm not against that because you guys both would probably admit when this guy is on, it's incredible. Like imagine if he studied the game tape, it's just, he's that guy,
Well, Lincoln Riley always said he was more just roll the ball out there. Let's go. I don't really care about, studying the ins and outs. Just roll it out there. Let's play. So yeah, that would be something though. If he actually gave a shit, that would make a lot of difference probably. So maybe this year he will. We'll see.
I read
Kyler Murray, they've always said Kyler Murray is a very smart guy, and he was probably smart enough to know we're never going to win with this guy. So maybe with Gannon, maybe. I don't know.
I read somewhere where they've got somebody working with him that he really likes.
Really?
Yes. They have a quarterback's coach that he really likes. So who knows?
That would be the first person he's ever liked. So we'll see. With that being said, we're going to get out of here, guys. We'll be back next week. Papa Dude and I will be back covering the Iowa Festival of Racing. That's right. It's coming up next week. We'll be covering that for you. Until then, see you guys later. You can see Ryan and I in about 5 minutes on Bleakers Off. We're getting ready to head right over there. So stay tuned to the channel, guys, and thanks everybody for watching.